Naomi was here, but she's gone.
What's that? She was here and now she's gone?
Yeah.
She'll be back. How are you, Carrie?
I'm good. I had a nice next gen little Shabbat gathering earlier this evening.
Nice.
That's good.
How many did you have?
10. So sweet.
Okay. Yeah. It's a nice day today, I heard. I didn't leave
I heard that too. Someone was like, I hope you're enjoying the nice weather. I was like, I haven't.
leave my desk. Yeah. I bet you she's having computer problems. She's been having them lately.
Wait, she just texted me.
Okay.
Can you send me Zoom link? My computer crashed. Trying to connect by my laptop.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone that's tuning in. We're just going to start a couple minutes late. Maybe one of our, I was going to say Cantor Tasek had parking problems, but her computer decided not to work right now. Just a reminder that we're doing this from our homes. There's a whole lot of technology behind our ability to show up on your screens in your home. So we've been pretty fortunate, but every now and then we get a hiccup and we'll make do. So she will join us, I'm sure, very soon. And since Rabbi Brown has a much better voice than I do, maybe we can start with Hine Matov.
Sure thing. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov u'manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine matov shevet achim gam yachad. Shabbat
Shabbat
Shalom.
Shalom, Cantor Tasek. How are you?
Do you hear us?
Can you hear us? You can't hear us. We I think we really hear you.
I'm coming.
Oh.
Okay. We can hear you, but you can't hear us, I guess. Okay. We'll get you when you come back.
Okay.
Okay. Why don't we continue then?
Yeah, so let's continue on page 128 on the third song, Yedid Nefesh. Yedid Nefesh of Harachaman, Yedid Nefesh of Harachaman, Meshochav Decha, El Retzonecha, Meshochav Decha, Yadadadai, El Retzonecha, Yarutz Avdecha, Kemaya, Yishtachavei, Elhum Elmohatarecha.
So Shabbat Shalom. It's wonderful to be together on this non-rainy couple of days, very unseasonal for us in Vancouver. They always told me that if it's not raining in Vancouver, that's when you have something to worry about. But I think we have enough to worry about, not the weather today. She's back. Cantor Tauzik is
There she
here.
is.
Thank God.
You got the shul.
I'm trying so hard.
Oh, sorry. Well, you're in the midst of moving and all of these other things. So
Yeah, just a little more stuff to add into the day.
yeah, why not a little stress? Well, we were just welcoming everybody. And so we'll welcome you. Also take a deep breath. And we'll continue with our service, page 131. Shiru Adonai, Shir Chadash. We sing unto God a new song.
Shiru Ladonai, Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai Baruch Shemo, Basru Miyom Leyom Yeshuato, Zapru Vagoyim Kevodo, Bechol Hamim Nifleotav, Ki Gadol Adonai, Hulal Meyod, Norahu, Al Kol Elohim,
We had a really nice small Zoom gathering for our next generation, our 20s and 30s group earlier this evening. And as we did, we were just connecting and schmoozing and talking about how do we help ourselves feel the transition into Shabbat? What are things that we can do to prepare so that, it really feels different and intentional? And people had some really beautiful things that they do. Someone said, I like to vacuum before Shabbat starts. And another person said that cooking really helped them get into the mood of Shabbat. And there was another person who said it was shopping for flowers, that's what they really loved, was always to buy flowers for Shabbat. And I think what kind of ties everything together is this sense of having some intentionality, that we have to really focus and make the space in not only just in our physical space in our homes, but really in our minds and our spirits to allow Shabbat to come in. And when we're inviting Shabbat to come into our lives, we're also inviting others to share in that space with us. And we do that when we sing together Shalom Aleichem, and we invite the Shabbat angels to join with us. So we're going to do that as well as we join together on page 142.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bachem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei HaShalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
So we'll turn back now with Lecha Dodi, this beautiful poem that we share to welcome the Sabbath bride. It's on page 138.
Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Shamor V'Zachor B'Dibor Echad Hishmianu El HaMiuchad Adonai Echad Ushmo Echad L'Shem Tiferet L'Tehila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Likrat Shabbat Lechu V'Nelcha Ki Mekor HaBeracha Merosh Mikedem Nesucha Sof Maaseh B'Machshavat Echila Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha Kumitzi Mitoch Ha'apecha Rav Lach Shevet B'Emek Habacha Hu Yachamol Aleichem La Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Hitoreri Kiva Orech Kumi Ori Uri Shir Daberi Kavod Adonai Alayich Nigla Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabela Boi v'shalom teret bala Gam b'simcha uv'tahala Toch emunei am segula Boi chala Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabela.
I invite you, if you haven't already, to please stand as we continue on page 263 with Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba Ve'amad yivrachute v'yamlich malchute B'chayechon v'yomechon Uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael Bagala Uv'izman kariv V'yimeru amen Yehi shmei Barabba mevarach Le'alam olam me'almaya Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitalel Shemei d'Kudisha barichu Le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata Tushbechata v'nechemata Tamiram ve'alma Vehimeru. Amen.
We'll continue with the Baruch Hu, page 264.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvorach Leolam Vaed.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Vaed.
Can be seated. We'll continue a prayer for evening, page 265, Ma'ariv Aravim. If you want to follow along in our Siddur, you can do so at templeshalom.ca/video. You'll find the Siddur there. And if you've joined us on YouTube because you couldn't find us on Telus, we've moved Telus channels to channel 882, I think it is now, instead of what it was before. So that's why you found us here. Ma'ariv Aravim. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher bidvaro ma'ariv aravim, b'chochma poteach sharim, ובתבונה משנה עיתים ומחליף את הזמנים, ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך, וחושך מפני אור, ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד, ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם לעולם ועד. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם בלילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל. Shema Israel, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kavod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם להוד על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
We worship the power that unites the universe, a promise of harmony for all. Yet that oneness eludes our grasp as imperfection and evil abound. Before our eyes there is a vision of perfection, of order and goodness. There is evil enough to break the heart, and there is good enough to exalt the soul. When will redemption come? When we grant everyone what we claim for ourselves. Long ago we escaped the tyranny of Egypt, and our people saw the power of the Most High. We learned God's presence redeems time and event. We celebrate that power that makes for freedom. As we turn in a moment to Michamocha, the song of redemption, I'm aware that, as you are, I'm sure, this morning my children wore black shirts to school in a recognition of racial injustice and the cause of those that are experiencing racism and in our communities. And it's connected, of course, also with Martin Luther King weekend, what's happening this weekend in the United States. And all of those things are connected very much with the narrative of the Jewish people that we speak about in those words I just read, and we'll sing about in a moment in Michamocha, a song of redemption. So many have seen their own plight and experience through the lens of our historical experience of our people through the lens of slavery in Egypt. We spoke about it last weekend as we were talking about what brought us down to Egypt, and that experience of redemption that happens, as I'll speak tomorrow, that happens only in stages. And we might feel sometimes as we go backwards instead of going forwards, but that we are continuing to march forward, even if our steps are delayed, through the parted seas, from slavery to freedom, to redemption on freedom's shore. And so we sing of redemption, even if it feels far away at this time, aware that the Israelites who were trudging through the mud at the bottom of the Sea of Reeds, as much of a hard slog it was, every step that they took, as difficult as it was a step closer, to freedom and further away from the enslavement that they had experienced, even if those steps were sometimes delayed. We'll sing Michamocha, a song of redemption, page 270.
Mi chamocha belim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot o seifele, nora tehilot o seifele, mochotecha rauvanecha, bokei ayam lifnei Moshe uMiriam, Zelianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch, Adonai yimloch, le'olam va'ed. V'ne'emar, kifad Adonai et Yaakov, ogelo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael.
Hashkivenu, page 271, a prayer for evening.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Amen.
We'll turn now, page 272, as we sing of Shabbat and its obligations upon us to not simply enter into Shabbat, but to make Shabbat, to create those islands of holiness, those boundaries, those good fences that not only make good neighbors, but I think make good souls as well. When we say no to those things that make demands upon us, we celebrate what it means to be a free people, and we celebrate also what it means to observe Shabbos, to set aside time for what is sacred and what is holy, to elevate and to separate. Vishamru, page 272.
Shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, לעשות את השבת לדורות המברית העולם, ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, ביני ובין בני ישראל, אותי לעולם. Yamada bim bambai, Shabbat, Shabbat, Yamada bim bambai, Shabbat, Shabbat, Yamada bim bambai, Shabbat, 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 Shalom. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. Yum bam bam bye, Shabbat Shabbat, yum bam bam bye, Shabbat Shabbat, yum bam bam bye, Shabbat Shabbat, Shabbat Shalom.
Adonai, Sephatai Tiftachu Fi Yagid Hilatecha. Eternal God, help us find the words that we might speak with you in prayer. We'll rise, if that's what we are doing in your homes, for the Amidah, page 274.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim Bekonei HaKol, Bezocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, Umevi Gula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'yava, Melech Ozer Moshiach U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Bezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה מתים אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח מוריד הגשם, מחלקל חיים בחסד, מחיי מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני העפר, מי כמוך בגבורות, ומדום מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה לחיות מתים, ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי המתים. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום ימלוך הצלה, ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
Amen. You are holy, your name is holy, and those who are holy praise you every day. Blessed are you, Adonai, the holy God. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Amen.
Be seated. We'll continue the bottom Hebrew paragraph on page 277.
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu v'Imotenu, Ritzei v'Menuchatenu, Kadshenu b'mitzvotecha, v'tin chelkeinu b'toratecha, Sabeinu mitovecha, v'samcheinu b'shuatecha, v'taher libeinu, v'taher libeinu, v'taher libeinu le'avdecha b'emet, v'taher libeinu, v'taher libeinu, v'taher libeinu le'avdecha be'emet. V'anchilenu Adonai Eloheinu, be'ahava v'ratzon Shabbat kodeshecha, ve'anuchu v'Yisrael, mekadshe shmecha, baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day, and may we all live in such a way that this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Page 279.
Ritzei Adonai Eloheinu, be'amecha Yisrael, Tamid avodat Yisrael. Israel Amecha. El karov lechol korav penei elavadecha vechonenu shepoch ruchacha aleinu v'techazena eineinu v'shuvcha leTzion. Barachamim. Baruch atah Adonai Hamachazir Shechinato LeTzion.
I read a book recently. It was called A Thousand Thank Yous. And the premise of the book, I don't think I've talked about it before. The premise of the book was that the author wanted to thank the person who provided his morning cup of coffee, because his morning cup of coffee, those who are coffee drinkers, and I'm not, was so central to his ability to have a good day, that if you didn't start, as I've been told, with a good cup of coffee, then the day was not off to a good start and would never end well. And so he thought about how to thank the person who had provided this cup of coffee. And then, like an old children's story, he realized that it wasn't just the barista at his local coffee shop, but it was the person that had selected the beans and the coffee machine, and all the way down the line to the cup and to the lid on the cup, and to the grower who had made the beans and the shipper who had brought the beans, over an ocean, and on back. And he ended up thanking, in this journey and in this book, and he did this in real life, going to as many people along that chain as possible to express his gratitude for what they had contributed to make his each day start so well. And it was just such a beautiful exercise, which he did in reality, but we can do in our own thoughts as we sort of play the tape backward in our head, as we roll back in reverse through our day. If we arrive at a certain moment that we are grateful for, whether it is to finally arrive home safely or never having to leave our homes to be safe, or I guess anywhere in between. All of the people and the elements that went into those things that allow us to be at this moment grateful, and with, as they say, an attitude of gratitude. For all of those things, we can give thanks, but we so rarely do because we are just quickly rushing to the next. So the purpose of this prayer at this moment in our service, this hoda'ah, is to say thank you, to have that sense of appreciation and acknowledgement, not only internally, but hopefully to then go out into our lives and to the people that touch our lives, and to truly say thank you. So since we're at home and maybe sitting with the people that have made our metaphorical cup of coffee possible, I invite you to turn to the person that is next to you if you are with somebody, and to thank them. As the cantor sings this prayer of gratitude, to thank them for the things that have enabled you to arrive at this moment that would not be possible were it not for them. And if those people are not sitting with you after this service, or because there's a computer in front of you, call them or send them a text message and express a sense of gratitude and appreciation for the blessings that they are in your life, because we are thankful for our blessings.
Kulam, kulam, Yitbarach v'yitromam, Yitbarach v'yitromam, Shimcha Malkeinu, Tamid le'olam va'ed, Ve'al kulam, Yitbarach v'yitromam, Yitbarach v'yitromam, Shimcha Malkeinu, Tamid le'olam va'ed. Ve'lchol lachem yodu chasala, והללו את שמך באמת. האל ישועתנו ועזרתנו סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני, הטוב שמך, הטוב שמך. ולך נאה להודות.
Page 282, Shalom Rav, a song of peace.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata melech adon lecho hashalom. Ki ata melech adon lecho hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov b'necha nevarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. ברוך אתה אדוני המברך את עמו ישראל בשלום.
Take a moment of silent prayer and meditation.
Ratzon himrei fi vegion libi lefanecha. Adonai tzuri, Adonai tzuri.
We'll turn to page 371 as we offer prayers for healing for those in our community who are sick and in need of healing. We ask God's blessing upon them that they might experience the full power and strength that comes with being part of a community. We have within our community now a handful of families that have been directly impacted by COVID-19, and all of us have been touched by it in some way. But I want to share with you that as the virus and its spread is increasing, it has not left our community untouched. And so while we continue to seclude ourselves in our homes and to keep distant, we recognize also that there are some that have not been able to fully do that, or for whom, even though they have tried, the virus has reached them. And so we offer particular prayers for courage for them, and prayers that our community might find the courage and the strength to do what is right, to do the necessary things, so that we can all try to stay as safe as possible as we await vaccinations and treatments. On this Shabbat, we ask God's blessing of healing for Yana Timko, Dr. Dimitri Zanzoni, Lynn Zabo, Ted Cohn, Shana Stawicki, Jack Karp, Maylor Valance, Elliot Pohl, Sanford Cohn, Jean Angus, Sarah Chiachi, Mary Coheen, Kim Bennett, Sarah Bat Avraham Basara, Igor Ilisov, Ed Ozer, David Shlomo Gorny, Ronnie Goldberg, Andrea Jarzybak, Maureen Newman, and Neil Tapley. If there are others in need of this prayer for healing, I invite you to call out their names out loud, to type them into the chat box below this video screen so that we can add them to our prayers as we join with our cantor, page 371, the Mishaberach, a prayer for healing.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
We add to those names also Mel Karp, that he might have a refuah shlema, a complete recovery as well. Rabbi Brown, it's good to see you. Before we get to your drash, I have the announcements here. I'm going to try something new, so we'll see if this works. It's always dangerous when I know it's always dangerous when I try a new trick, but let's see if this works. There we are. Look at that. Isn't that cool? So is that coming through? I think it is. Let me turn off my camera and make that look a little better. No, not so much. There we are. Oh, that's weird. Okay. Well, maybe not as good as I thought it would be. Okay, better. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I guess there's two pictures of me on the screen, which is not what I was going for. But we'll live with it. Shabbat services are, as you can see right now, at 8:15 and tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We have a virtual Kiddush following our service tomorrow. So join us via Zoom for that. A note, if you haven't figured it out already, that they moved our channel up a little bit to channel 882 on TELUS. If you couldn't find us tonight, that's where we are and will be going forward. Morning Minyan, of course, Monday and Wednesday, 7:45. Introduction to Talmud with Rabbi Brown on Thursdays beginning January 28th. Please sign up for that. No prior experience is necessary. It'll be a wonderful opportunity to learn the study of Talmud. I used Rabbi Brown's rabbinical skills earlier this evening as I needed some help with the translation. She is fantastic. Torah study tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. We have a new group starting at the synagogue. It is a caregiver support group with Beverly Court. If you know Beverly, you know that she is a registered psychologist and an incredible counselor and support, working with caregivers for a long, long time. And so here we are trying to provide some support for those that are providing support to help the helpers. So if you are interested in a support group to talk about what it is to care for perhaps aging parents and children at the same time, or sick family members and loved ones, even those that are far away, join us for this support group. Join Beverly for this support group. It's going to be every second Monday, beginning February 8th. We have a virtual tour of Israel that continues with Mike Hollander, Dilemmas of Majority-Minority Relations in Judea and Their Impact on Israel today, and that's going to be on Thursday, January 21st at noon via Zoom. The last one was a tour of Machane Yehuda, a virtual tour. That one made us hungry. This will give us food for our minds. And family programs, I'm not sure there are any kids watching, but maybe you have them asleep now and they'll wake up tomorrow. So join us for Tat Shabbat Online at 11 and Havdalah tomorrow night for everybody, not just for children, at 7:30 tomorrow night. And then lastly, our sisterhood has their wonderful Shabbaton weekend coming up January 29th. at 8:15, and we hope you'll join us for that. They've been working very hard to put together their Sisterhood Shabbat service, even though the choir is going to be virtual in many respects. So I hope that you can join us for that. And then lastly, as you saw in your email that went out today, we are beginning a process of bringing in virtual cantors, well, they're real cantors, but for virtual visits, as we begin to explore the next chapter for Temple Sholom in terms of our Clay Kaddish and the possibilities that a cantor can provide for a congregation, as we also prepare to say Lehitraot to Cantor Tausik as well. I should have put that slide up, and I missed that one. We'll get that to you soon. Maybe I have it right here. So join us for that. That's coming up, and then well, I don't think I can open this right now. So we'll leave it at that. I'll bring up the Lehitraot slide in a bit, and I'll turn it over to Rabbi Brown.
Thanks, Rabbi Dan. It was something seeing double of you. That was really great. So Shabbat Shalom to everyone. Great to see all of you. I hope that you're doing well and keeping safe and healthy at home. So tonight, I want to talk about the frogs. You know, the frogs of the 10 plagues, the ones that we sing about with the cutesy songs at the Seder table. Frogs here, frogs there. Frogs were jumping everywhere. The frogs, I must say, have something important to teach us. The lesson practically jumped out of the text when I read it this week. So here's a recap, and it's actually important to know some of the details of what happened with the frogs. So this is the second of the 10 plagues after the plague of blood, and God tells Moses to warn Pharaoh, let the people go, if not, frogs will plague the whole country. They'll rise up out of the Nile and enter your palaces, your people's homes, your beds, your ovens, and your kneading bowls. So God tells Moses to tell Aaron to raise his staff, and the frogs come. Pharaoh freaks out. He doesn't like the frogs. He calls for Moses and Aaron to plead with God to stop the plague, says, I will let the people go. Now, Pharaoh tells Moses this. Moses calls off the plague. God stops the plague. The frogs die out in the houses, the fields, and the courtyards. Now, here's the specific part I want to focus on. The Egyptians come and they pile up all of the dead frogs in heaps. And the Torah says, until the land stank. The very next verse, Pharaoh saw relief and called off his offer for freedom. These couple verses at the end really confused me. Pharaoh sees relief, even though the land is stinking with dead frogs. I can't believe that the stink of countless dead frogs could be considered to be relief. I remember when I was a little kid, we had some heavy flooding in our yard one summer and ended up with dead frogs in our window well. You can't avoid that stink. There must be something else going on here. Pharaoh seems to be of the out of sight, out of mind leadership style. There is a rot at the core of Egyptian society, and Pharaoh cannot or will not look at it. He's willing to just pretend the trouble is not there. We know all too well how easy it is to go back to things as they were when any sign of discomfort is not immediately in front of our faces. Think about us today. Think about the speed at which our news cycles move, or the cause du jour slips from our cultural awareness. How quickly we can move from righteous indignation to lazy indifference. Thank God most of us are not tyrants such as Pharaoh, but we all have some responsibility to claim for the distractedness that regularly gives us a false sense of relief when the stink is really still all around us. The rabbis taught that Pharaoh was so wicked that he needed greater demonstrations of God's power before he understood the consequences. The Midrash tells us this is the way of the wicked. When they are in trouble, they cry out with humility. But as soon as they have respite, they return to their cursed ways. Each plague brings more suffering, and every time we see Pharaoh about to give in and let the Israelites go, he changes his mind, ostensibly as God hardens Pharaoh's heart and prevents him from exercising whatever kernel of mercy he may have had inside him. One cannot help but ask why. Why more plagues? Why not let Pharaoh relent early and avoid more suffering for the people? Aviva Zornberg suggests that after time, a kind of spiritual rigor mortis sets in. Until the 9th plague of darkness, which we'll read next week, Pharaoh neither hears nor speaks as he denies the Israelites' freedom at the end of each plague. Maimonides suggests that Pharaoh sinned of his own free will until he forfeited the opportunity to repent. Pharaoh's heart hardening led to death and destruction on an unimaginable scale. If he had only been able to smell those frogs, I think that his story could have been very different. Our story would have been different as well. So why was it that he couldn't smell them? I have 3 ideas, and I think they can each teach us something and serve as a warning. Number 1, perhaps there were people around him with sweet aromatic incense to disguise the stench. Advisors who wanted to keep the truth from him, either because they were fearful of his reaction or unwilling to be the bearers of bad news. We know from our own days that leaders who are shielded from the suffering of those around them live in a false reality and have devastating consequences. The second idea is maybe he got used to the smell. The stench of the frogs was not so different from the stench of oppression and slavery that was wafting in the air. In an oppressive society, it is striking how quickly a person acclimates to their environment. Finally, I can't help thinking that the smell of the death of a plague that had been sent against him might have been pleasing to Pharaoh. I wonder if the relief that he felt was a reflection of his autocratic tendencies. Once that he saw the frogs were no longer multiplying and entering his abode, his palace, he no longer felt a challenge to his own sense of power. In any case, Pharaoh's inability to notice what was happening around him had serious consequence. Our responsibility is to prevent our own inflexibility from becoming an impediment to repentance. And unlike Pharaoh, we have the opportunity to change, to soften our hardened hearts, and to smell the reality that's all around us. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Brown. Piles and piles of frogs. You made that sweet.
Kind of a stinky sermon, but it's okay.
Oy vey. Thank you very much for that. Thank you for that wonderful teaching. Our service continues, page 586. We'll rise for Elena.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כעם, וגורלנו כחומונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים, לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shehu notei shamayim v'yosei haaretz, u'imochav yakaro b'shamayim imaho, u'shchinatu zo begovei meromim. Hu Eloheinu ein od, emet malkeinu efes ulato, kakatu b'torato, ve'adata hayom, v'hashevota el levavecha, ki Adonai hu Elohim, b'shamayim imaho, ve'aretz mitachat ein od. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yihi Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Thank you. If you rose, you can please be seated. A reading before the mourner's Kaddish. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, and life is a journey. From childhood maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, from health to sickness and back we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey, stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, from birth to death to life everlasting. At this time, we think of those loved ones who are not with us, but whose presence is felt particularly in our lives at this moment as we look around our world and we see the empty space that was once occupied by them. We recall them for blessing now. Those who died during this past week or these past 30 days, whose families are in this period of Shiva and Shloshim. Joan Becko, Captain Michael Boscovich, Paul DeYoung, Alex Farhado, Steve Shore, and Jane Silverman. And those for whom the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the death of your loved one, is on this Shabbat, we too call out their names and invite you to rise and to remain standing as we read their names. Cecilia Eichenwald, Iman Atnikov, Cecilia Barber, Martin Burney, Michael Block, Samuel Bregman, Edith Brooks, Sonia Carlson Bernstein, Grace Coheen, Sidney Cole, Edward Dozer, Cecilia Eisenberg, Miriam Fish, Julie Friedman, Harry Fugman, Bella Gertzog, Norman Goldstein, Ida Goldstein, Isaac Goslin, Boris Gozer, Eve Gozer, Alice Graubart, Edwina Heller, Debbie Eisen, Kalo Kahaya, Jack Kay, Leon Comer, Kate Lang, Dr. Alexander Lester, Jack Levine, Francis Malik, Elizabeth Martin, Neil Ornstein, Diana Clara May Parnell, Abraham Zalman Raber, Deborah Richter, Sidney Rodberg, Morris Rose, David Rosenzweig, Sam Samuels, Walter Schneider, Sybil Francis Shack, Rebecca Shaffron, Marshall Silverman, Sam Steinman, Sophie Stitz, Fred Stolberg, Livy Timko, Rose Vinsky, Daniel Weinstein, Nahum Weisborn, Gordon Wetstein, Rod Yamanuchi, Michael Young. If there are others who've come to say Kaddish, names that you are thinking of in your own hearts and minds, I invite you to call them out loud in your homes or in your hearts so that we can add them to those names that we are remembering at this time. And we add to those the names of all those who died in defense of freedom and justice, victims of terror in this land, the land of Israel, around the world, and those who died in the Shoah and the Holocaust that have no family left to remember them. We recall them for blessing as well as we join together in Kaddish Tom, the mourner's Kaddish, and I'll put that prayer up on the screen. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad divrach yeruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon v'yomechon v'chayei l'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'zman kariv v'maru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach le'olam ulamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yit adar v'yit aleh v'yit alal shemei d'kudisha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, daminron be'alma v'yimaru, amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimaru, amen. Osei shalom b'romav, hu ya'asei shalom, aleinu v'yakol Yisrael, v'kol yoshvei tevel v'yimaru, amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who mourn, and comfort the bereaved among us, and we say together, amen. So that concludes our service tonight. A reminder, Torah study tomorrow at 8:30, and Shabbat services tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Join us afterwards for our virtual Kiddush, and tomorrow night at 7:30 for Havdalah. And join us next week. Cantor Taussig will get the night off, as we're joined by Cantor Rosalie Will for our first in a series of visiting cantors as we explore the many varieties of the cantorate that are out there. So join us for services next Friday at 8:15 and next Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And Cantor Taussig, you're still here singing.
Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru, amen. Shabbat shalom. I'm glad I made
Shabbat
it.
shalom.
Shabbat
Shabbat
shalom,
shalom,
everyone.
everyone. Shabbat shalom, everyone. I'm just going to bring up the overlay here.